Good dog, Nabiha, good dog.
Good dog for day.
We,
My phone fell. Wait a
oh
second.
my goodness. We done gorda middag.
Hvordan går det med deg? Oh my god, you learned in Norwegian, huh?
We're done gorda middag.
Det går bra med meg.
Jag
Hvordan
hade
går det
bra,
med deg?
jag hade bra tack.
That is great. Jag har det bra, tack means I'm good, thank you.
Jag hade bra tack. Okay.
Yeah, I can actually understand you. Oh my goodness. And you
You,
don't even sound like the American accent, you know?
isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
You said I can actually understand you.
yeah. That is interesting. It's a language thing, right? But let's say this: if I spoke Norwegian like in a whole conversation, you wouldn't understand.
Right, but you understood me.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Ah, yeah, that was good. That was good. So how are you today?
Oh, doing well, doing swell. You know, I love hearing you speak your many languages. You know, you
Yeah.
speak so many.
Yeah, it's just a language though.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was a kid, languages liked me. It's not like that I wanted to learn them, but it was just something like I hear it and it becomes natural. Like Spanish, for example, right now, I think I should learn because when I hear Spanish, I feel like it's a language I already knew.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something foreign to me, and it's like if I was in my younger age and I heard Spanish, I would just dive into it and I would be speaking Spanish today.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, Spanish is not one of them. But yeah, language used to be my thing until I realized, oh my God, I don't need any of them.
Mm.
I really don't. Because internally, none of the languages that I actually speak can convey the messages that I have within.
Really?
Yeah, it can't. It's very difficult.
None of them.
None of them.
Mm.
I can come close to some of them, using some of them, but some of them are so limited. Languages have age too, They do have age. So it's like, can you use this young age to convey an old message? No, you can't. So yeah.
Yeah. So if if you ruled the world, what language would you give everyone? What would be the one language? You
Oh
know?
my God, you're asking me that question. You should know. Telepathy. It wouldn't be no words to express.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't, because words are separation.
Okay.
They separate things. Like I speak Norwegian, and since you cannot speak Norwegian, if I didn't speak English, we wouldn't understand each other. It would separate us.
Right.
Right? We need to have a language to understand each other. That means like we got limited.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, like we don't need no language. There are so many things I can interpret without you using language. Like I can look at you and I see if you're sad.
Mm-hmm.
I can see if you're frustrated. You didn't use words. You didn't use words to express yourself and say, hey, this is how I feel. But I could already read your energy, right? So if we made that energy stronger, you can tell me a whole story without you saying a word to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what
But
I believe, at least.
for instance, you are very empathic and you see things that are telegraphed, on people who put themselves out there. One of the reasons I love our friendship is you're one of the people, Kamilla, that will come to me and you'll be like, so how are you doing? How are you? And and I can't sidestep it. No, really though, like how are you? Like you really want to know because you see past the things that others don't. So it's like you see beyond. I always enjoyed that. You're really asking somebody, no, how are you? How are you feeling? Like, how is your energy? How is your heart? Like, how are you doing? You know?
Yeah, I would think like, it's very interesting that you actually saying that to me. That's the only time I know, like, okay, I do that actually, right? But those are the things that I think everybody do.
Mm.
When you ask somebody, like if I'm talking to you, I wouldn't disappear, just disappear.
Mm.
For a whole year, for example, we have a connection, right? And you will cross my mind. If you cross my mind, it's natural for me to say like, hey, how you doing? What are you up to? Because I'm curious, right? And I want to know like how you're doing. So it's a normal thing. You think everybody do that? You think everybody do that? They don't.
You would think, you would think, but often a lot of us we're in our own heads, we're in our own world, we're not really worried about others. So that's why I say it's a rare thing when you have somebody who will go out of their way to do that, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because to me, I am a lot in my head. That's for sure. A lot in my head. But I wouldn't call it like, like all my problem, everything that I speculate, I wouldn't say it's, something to find out for me. Everything is a whole, So it's like, okay, if I find something, I find something for you, if it resonates with you, right? So if it was just me finding out stuff for me, life would be boring, actually.
You think so?
I think it would be boring because self-achievement is the most, I think, I don't know, I find it boring. Let's say like if I achieve something right now, right? And everything I'm doing is towards my own achievement. That's the saddest thing you can do. I believe so. If you think about it.
Okay, so the books that you have on your shelf, like you're a reader. We're both readers. We read. And would you say that you have a lot of books on personal development or self-help, or what would be the category?
I'm thinking. I don't actually have self-improvement books like that.
What are the
I don't have anything that says like, take this step and take that step and take this step, because I wouldn't follow.
Okay.
I know myself, even though, I, learning how to meditate, learning how to do stuff, like if it was a step book that was telling me what to do, I would never learn.
Right.
So I like to find, my books are more like beyond the mind. Something I need to, is a puzzle.
A puzzle?
Puzzle. Mostly it's a puzzle. That's why I say like I have a conversation with the authors, because like, okay, you put together this information, where did it come from? And so it's a speculative kind of content that I can continue.
Okay, so when you're reading your favorite books, is the author helping you piece together a puzzle?
Yes, of my own speculations.
Of your own speculation?
Yes, it has nothing to do with them. It is always my own speculations. Like, then I have to search more, right? So it's like, let's say like, I like this author, or Krishnamurti.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I read his stuff, it's like, it's my own journey, kind of.
Right.
He is breaking the barriers in the brain the way I'm doing it. So it's like, okay, he came this far on that one. Let me puzzle this one. Let me puzzle that one. So it's like a puzzle when I read his stuff or when I listen to him. So that's the kind of information I can read. But I can't read like, okay, you have to take this step, Kamilla, to reach that, because I'm not going nowhere.
Right.
I'm not going nowhere, yeah.
And when I read that book by Krishnamurti, it was called Think on These Things.
Yeah.
It was called Think on These Things by Krishnamurti. And when I read that, it came during a time when I was looking for myself. It was like I was looking, trying to find myself somehow. And the words, like you said, like having a conversation with an author that's, you're piecing together yourself, your realization. questions, after I started to piece it together, I felt a sense of accomplishment. Like, oh, that's what that is. Like,
Yeah.
do you ever feel that?
Yes, because like Krishna, for me, it's like I know his personal story. That's more important to me than his discovery, right? So when I've learned his personal story, every time I read his content, I think of him actually searching and speculating just like I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And since he came here before me and he walked on the same ground like me that I'm doing right now, we are just coming by the same steps with a new, display, which is like, things have changed, cars have changed, some people's mind have changed, But for me, it's more like I think about him when he was sitting on that tree. What was it that bothered him for him to figure out what this thing is about? His whole thing is like, is life even worth understanding? Like what is this thing about, right? And that's my biggest question,
Yeah.
right? If I understand that, it's not even understanding anything. It's just that what am I doing here if I'm not gonna figure that out at least?
Right, right. And when you find the answers to these questions and you feel like you're figuring it out and you have that sense of accomplishment or sense of achievement when you piece together that puzzle,
Mm-hmm.
is that not worthwhile?
It is. It gives you a little ease for sure, but it's a continuation, right? It's like, okay, that's that level, but just to know that he never figured it out before he left.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, where are you now? I think about that sometimes, because somehow I feel like, I need to master my energy so I can just be the pure energy without depending on that body, because that's the only thing that's limiting me. First, I'm working with the mind that's limiting me. Now I have the body, right? But the pure energy that is, being discovered in here, can I hold that when I leave this body? That's my point.
Okay. Okay. So when you said before on how, achievement, fulfillment from working on yourself
Mm-hmm.
would kind of be boring or wouldn't be like what you would rather do, is it not like what would be the most fulfilling when it comes to working on yourself in that way, when it comes to finding that self accomplishment or that achievement within? What I mean is like seeing what life means to you through the eyes of another and working on yourself, is that not worthwhile in life? Like, is there something higher that you feel would be better than that to work on yourself?
If it's anything higher than that, I don't even want to give it to a level or anything like that. It is what it is. But it's not that. Like, just think of yourself being the
Mm-hmm.
only person on this planet.
Yes.
Okay, what would you want to achieve? Conquer yourself? Like, what is it to? So normally, if I think about, if I was here by myself, I wouldn't even have all of these thoughts. So the problem that what I see is like, if I didn't have anybody, I wouldn't speculate this much. So
Okay.
my speculation comes from other people's eyes, so it comes from a collective. That's why it would be boring, because I wouldn't even have all of this speculation somehow, because it wouldn't be you, it wouldn't be another person, it wouldn't be, the story itself would just be like flat.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
nothing, yeah. There's no create this, like, we have a mind that's creating a problem and then we're solving the problem,
Mm-hmm.
So if it's just mind that's creating the problem, it wouldn't be so much. But you have one, another one person have one, so it's like a collective achievement.
Okay.
Whatever I achieve is a collective achievement.
Okay. Okay. And would you rather live in this world as it is, knowing that, or would you choose a world where there were no other thoughts, no other perspectives, no other collective?
No, I don't think I would change anything to what it is, to be honest.
Mm.
It's when you want to change something that's current, in a sense, it's like you're running away somehow and you think it's a problem. I don't see this as a problem. I just see this, okay, I'm aware of it, you know, and this is what I'm doing. So it's not like, this is, I want it better. When people actually ask me like, Kamilla, you don't think we'll all wake up in this lifetime? And I'm a very optimist, but I always say no to that. And the people are like, you're so pessimist. No, why you say that? And I'm not being negative. It just is what it is. Not everybody's gonna wake up. You know how many people who died not knowing who they are, who left this world not knowing the majority, right? So the question is like, you are asking me if everybody would know who they are before they leave here. The chances are very low. They are, But also, I think, when people say like, oh, we have to redo a lot of things to learn, I think our energy must have, reincarnated. I don't like to believe in stuff like that, but I must have done it too many times in order for me to actually be aware the way I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not everybody's DNA is imprinted in that, like.
Right. Yeah. You really bring to mind, Kamilla, like some people would say during 2012, 2012, they said, oh, there was a great awakening. That was when I had my awakening. That was when I woke up, and I realized something. And that was a big shift for me. It was a big turning point, like a crossroads. And if you could recall, when was the point that you feel you woke up or found yourself?
I was part of 2012 too, so I remember. I don't go to movie theater so much, but I did go and watch that 2012 movie. At the time, I was awake to the government. A lot of the government stuff. Just understanding everything is a strategy, just different tiers. Whether it's from human, from race, just like how even the black and white are separated, right? It's a strategy. It's the same strategy happening with humanity, just in a larger, but just in a humanity way, So it's a different strategy. So understanding where the ground, that the government, right? Understanding what's going on, understanding life itself in that way. That's what I woke up to then. But what woke me up was Michael Jackson, actually. Michael Jackson. Of all the people, yeah, Michael Jackson woke me up.
Explain.
So when Michael Jackson died, when was it? The year before he died, actually. The year before he died is when, I just watched a lot of his ways and his just being, a lot of you will see whatever you want to see in a person, right? But any man that says like change comes from within, I hear them, I listen to them, So Man in the Mirror was one of them. So when I hear somebody always, change that, when you seek change, if you go towards like, oh, I'm gonna help the world, I'm gonna do this, I will never listen to you. It just doesn't sink in. But the people that are seeking the change from within, I get interested. I'm like, okay, what have happened? What this? And then I listen to his songs and stuff like that and how he speaks and everything. So it kind of woke me up. And then he died, and then just magical stuff happened. Magical stuff. It's a long story, but until he was buried, actually, I had frogs everywhere. It's super. I'm from Norway. You don't normally see frogs everywhere. But I was walking to school. There's a frog, just like, there's a break. I go to the lunch break. There's a frog there. I'll go to the mountains. I have like 4 frogs on my shoes, even in my living room, just watching TV, there's a frog in my living room. And that's when I thought, like, what is going on? Why do I have frogs everywhere?
What did it mean?
I don't really know. But there was a frog in my house even. So I lived on the ground, like, not a, so basically low. So the frog came in, and it was at night, and it was in my house. And then in the morning I wake up, it was outside my house, dead, upside down. And that's when he was buried. So I put together some things, but I don't know what it means.
So the frogs were connected to Michael Jackson?
Hmm. They were, and ever since, I don't think I view the the world the same way. That was, yeah, 2008.
How did you view it before?
I would say I wasn't even there. To be honest with you, I wasn't even there. I was living. You know how you can just exist? So I was existing. And I think a lot of us are actually existing. And that word, he actually said it. Michael Jackson said it. You can live instead of existing. So a lot of us just exist. We're just a character on this planet. And we're just doing what we're supposed to, what we're told to do. Yeah. So I was existing. So I can say I started living then, consciously.
And you were existing then, but you still exist now. But but it's
Yeah.
different.
I exist, but do I exist? That's the question. Do I exist? Or am I just in your head?
So
But
your existence changed.
yes, in a way. I don't like to think I'm just existing on this world. I used to exist, but right now I'm actually in it.
Okay.
Consciously.
Okay. So conscious existence.
It's a conscious existence, but at the same time, it's like I don't like to think that I'm existing. I don't want to go into the non-duality, okay? But
Are
there's
we
no.
are we in Bobby territory? Is this Bobby?
Oh no.
Bobby would love this. Bobby would love this conversation right now.
Oh yes, of course. Fabi and I are like, we're not there when we are in a room together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that because at the end of the day, everything is in our heads.
Mm-hmm. And does the idea that everything is just in your head, does that comfort you? Like, do you get it?
It comforts me.
Yeah.
It confuses sometimes. In the beginning, it would confuse you, like, oh my god, I don't that's it, But what's so fun about existing anyway? Once you understand it, like there's like understanding that you exist is as difficult as not understanding that you don't exist. Because just because why do you exist?
This really reminds me, there was a quote I read today. I was in the gym, and I love looking up inspiration to, pay it forward to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the quotes I read, Kamilla, it said something to the effect of, even though you know that nothing matters, the secret to life is to exist as if everything does.
Exactly. I just don't have words to say that, so it comes wrong when I say it. Yeah. So when people ask me like, Kamilla, what's your diet? I'm like, what diet? I don't have a diet. Fabi always says like, yeah, she's on liquid, but she don't like to say it. But it's what diet? Because I haven't restricted myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can go and eat a cantaloupe right now if I want to. I've never restricted myself. I just don't like chewing. But am I on a diet? No. It's so it's it's how you just perceive stuff. Somebody asked something?
Yeah, a bunch of people were asking questions while you were talking. It was like, it brought up a lot of thought provoking,
Oh, you can read them, please. I'm sorry, I talk too much.
Oh, no, you don't. That's why we're here. We're here to listen. Hold on.
I talk too much.
Okay, so we have Lewis. Shout out to Lewis down there in Florida. Lewis Mesa said, what do you feel is the biggest wisdom or even your biggest life wisdom?
My biggest life wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
If you are quicker to think, you can answer. If the question is for both of us.
One of the big wisdoms that I've ever received, and I still believe, is that we all make choices, but in the end, our choices make us.
Yeah,
And,
that's a good one.
and I've seen it, I continue to see it. So yeah, yeah, that's one of my biggest. What's
Um,
for you, Nabiha?
to me, it's not something I read somewhere, but I remember there was something that someone told me.
Okay.
Um, and I don't even know if I can put this it was in a different language, so it sounds different in the other language, but let me try in English. So, um, at the time I was like 13 years old, and I was with my best friend. We were gonna live together forever, whatever, whatever. You know how children are. But so basically, I lived by myself since I was 13. So that's the time I was moving on my own. I had a friend who was gonna move in with me and everything. She was 16, but there was a lady who advised me, and we lived with that lady for 3 months, me and the other girl. And I would be the one that would ask the lady, like, "Hey, can you go and buy out some alcohol?" I'm 14, and the other girl don't want to ask, and she's like, scary, and I'm the one that's open, right? So she would have me ask the questions that she don't want to ask. But the lady was so smart that she knew that I'm very open and just like open and just asking stuff, while I'm not the one doing it. I'm not the one smoking cigarette or drinking. It's the other one. But I would bring it to her. So she figured that the silence one is, the one that's actually getting something, and I'm the one that's, look like I'm crazy on the outside, but on the inside I'm very calm. So before we were leaving, she looked at me and she said, "You know what? When you look at the ocean," she said, "when you see the waves and when you see, still water, be careful with the still water because that's deep. You will drown." She would say, "You will drown. Be careful." And she looked at me and she said, "You are the waves. She's the still water." And I never forget that. It took me 20, maybe 12 years to actually just, look the other way and not be friends with her anymore. But it was true. I still don't know who she is.
So do you feel like her being symbolically that still water, was she trying to drag you down somehow?
Yeah, she would drown me.
Wow.
That's what the lady was telling me. She will drown you. She will drown you. And people see the waves and they think you're the crazy one.
Okay.
So she told me, be careful with people that are very silent.
Mm.
So I always, like, when I see someone like, too silent and in everything, I would always have a second thought.
Mm. Mm.
That's one lesson I remember I took with me since I was little.
Hmm. Hmm. So silence can sometimes be unnerving or unsettling.
Silence, is a different silence, right? For now, when I'm older, I see the difference. Like I said, if it's silence that's everywhere, you are in the loud places, but you're silent. That's a problem, because you are loud, but you're keeping it in,
Mm.
because you wouldn't be in the loud places otherwise.
And in some instances, do you see yourself in that way? Because I remember you told me about the duck, you know,
Yeah, deep. Yeah,
the duck,
but what?
right? The duck, it's paddling. Crazy paddling is underneath the water, underneath the surface. But on the top of the surface, it's silent.
Yeah,
It's
my
graceful.
mind runs like that.
Hmm.
My mind runs like that. But on the outside, you would never think I'm thinking deep.
Right.
But yeah.
It's
But
very.
that's my mind. I'm not silent.
Mm. Okay. So it's loud.
I can't even sit still. I'm like everywhere. I can't sit still.
So it's loud. A lot of noise going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
This
Wow.
is mine. My mind is like that. But on the outside, people, it's just for some reason, my thought, my whole being, they think I'm calm.
Mm.
But even though I'm doing activities, whatever I'm doing, it's just my whole being that looks like I'm calm.
Hmm.
But on the inside, I feel like it's a lot going on.
Okay. Okay. And how have you found balance between the calm and the chaos?
I'm still trying. I need to put myself in a way like when I think like I'm very stressing, and I'm like, it doesn't look like that on the outside. Can we like chill out? You know, um, like for example, schools. You know, I used to when you present in front of a class or in front of like a big audience, I would have like inside world is like in a completely different like um I can't even describe it, but on the outside everybody's like, Kamilla, you know what, you do well on the presentations. I'm like, are you crazy? I thought I was going to die. So I've learned that people cannot read what I'm feeling on the inside on the outside,
Mm.
and that's a little disturbing.
Okay. Okay. So that would make for, like you said before, you said if you ruled the world, you would have telepathy be the main language
Hmm.
so people could understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you have to be empathic to actually understand all of that.
Okay.
You have to be able to read people, right? I feel I'm better at reading people than communicating.
Mm.
I can say 100% I'm better at reading people than communicating with them with words. I am so limited once I open my mouth. It's so frustrating, but it's so limited. I can, like for example, when I'm working with Fabi, we come across a lot of people. It will take Fabi a long time maybe to figure out something that I have figured out already on the first day,
Mhm.
right? And then I let him. I'm like, okay, you need to discover it on your own because I already know, you know. So I see him actually go through the process and then come back and be like, oh my god, it was all right. And so that helps me actually to understand that my judgment is all right. But it's just because I'm reading the person's energy. That's all it is.
Mhm. Mhm.
The intention. You can read the intention of a person.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Would, would you say that that's something that you're born with, like a gift, or something that's an acquired skill?
I was born with most of the skills that I have. I believe. I believe so.
You were
Um,
born with skills.
yeah, I think I was born with many. At least the part where when I was little, very young, like 5, 6, people used to call me wise. And I really disliked that word because the only thing I used to think about was old. Every time someone say like, "Oh, the wise, she's wise," I used to think like she's old. I'm not old. So in a way, my brain had been wired the same way. So I must have been born that way. I don't know. But then again, you build up skills, right, as you go, as you grow. So I think life has taught me. You know how they say like if you grow up in the ghetto, you always look over your shoulder. You always be careful with whatever you are, you will still have that inbuilt in you to always be careful. So in my life, like I said, I used to live by myself when I was 13. There was a time I actually had to fake my age to get a job or to get apartments and stuff like that. So I have to always put myself you know in a place where I have to think deeper. I have to think ahead. My whole life is based on strategies,
Mm.
right? So yeah, so I think that's why
Okay.
I have to read the person. If let's say like when I was like 16, 17, yeah, 17, let's say 17, I have a kid. I want to rent a house. And these people are looking at this young. And when I was 16, I looked like I was 14.
Mm.
They look at me and, they can take advantage of like, when it comes to the money, blah, blah, blah. People will not trust you for rent, all kind of stuff. So I have to read the person. I have to read the employer. I have to read the person that's renting the house for me. So I need to know people. I have to have the people skills in order for me to live even.
Mm.
So I think maybe that's why.
Okay. So it was almost like a survival tactic.
Yes. You always have to read people. Always. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. by the way. You know, I love learning new things, new nuances about Nabiha. You know, Nabiha has so many nuances. You're very nuanced.
Oh, really?
You're
My
learning.
life is weird. It's a long life. Sometimes I feel like, yeah, I would be 60, 70 in age. You know, if I count this, what I have experienced, you know, in life. But yeah, it's we all got stories.
We do. We do. You know, and there's power in your story, you know. So we actually have a question for you, Louisa. She was asking earlier when you were talking about how some people die, go to the grave without waking up or knowing who they are, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we live in a time, you know, this digital age, this social media age, where people are still finding out who they are. And also, we have a vision of who we might be or who other people see us as. You know, speaking of which, this lovely Lensa app that you put me onto, which is giving everyone a picture of a different version of them. And
Mm-hmm.
people are looking at themselves like, wow, is that me? Like, is that how people see me? Is that how I see myself? So Louisa asked, how can we know who we are?
How can we know who we are? You know, just what I meant by knowing who you are. I don't mean, you know, your story.
Mm.
I don't mean that. I mean, just knowing there's more to life and not a place like heaven and hell.
Mm.
Because a lot of people work towards places. Place is a concept created by human beings, right? We can only grasp concept of places. So that's why heaven is a place, hell is a place. So once you grasp the concept of there is no places, you know, you kind of know who you are, you know, because right now you're building a life where you living in a paradise after you died, and paradise being a place in your head, you know. So once you get a lot of people die when they have that in their mind. So that's what I mean by not knowing who you are when you leave.
Okay. Okay.
Does that make sense? It's not like you don't knowing who you are like that, but just like, you know, you get it?
Yeah, I'm following you. I'm following you. So, okay. So, letting go of the story.
It's not even the story. It's just the, you know, imagine all beliefs being blocks
All
from what you truly are, right? Who you really are, right? Like pure energy, the pure consciousness that you are. Everything that's blocking you away from that is your beliefs. You believe you're a human being. You believe that this is your story. You believe you're going to a place. You're going to, you know, if you don't do this, you go to hell. If you do this, you believe in all of that. And that's a block from what you really are.
mm-hmm.
So once you shed all of that, then you know who you are. Because what are you left with?
Hmm.
What are you left with? Everybody is like reading a book or doing something just to get somewhere,
Hmm.
you know, because of in our head, we have places as a concept. We have comfort as a, you know, our comfort is connected to a place or to a thing or to something
Mm-hmm.
because of we are creature of, you know, desires and stuff. And that's just the mind's beliefs and blocks.
Right.
When we don't have that, then you pure consciousness.
Okay. Okay.
Nothing matter. Nothing actually matters, and everything matters. Does that make sense? Like, it's you're not attached to the beliefs.
Okay. So non-attachment. Okay, detachment.
No,
Yes. Okay. So then what
that's
is
the
the
only way you know who you are, because you are the things that you're attached to now.
yeah. Yeah. So when it came to the concepts that I remember you talking about, Kamilla, when you said that you got a certain concept from the Quran
Mm-hmm.
and it freed you up in a profound way that if you hadn't read that, the idea wouldn't have sprouted and blossomed and bloomed the way it did. So, what would be the difference between an idea or a belief that blocks versus another belief that unlocks?
Hmm. I'm trying to understand,
Is there a difference, or do all beliefs?
because the Quran, it wasn't something that I believed in that unlocked.
Okay.
It was that I stepped away from what would want me to believe. You know, do you have first steps that would tell you like, okay, you have to believe in this, this is what it is, and blah blah blah. So it blocks your mind to believe that it's something outside of yourself that's more powerful than you. And then you dive into the book believing that everything is more powerful than you, and you just obeying and you just doing exactly what it says on that book. So I stepped from that whole page and dived into it without having the thought of, you know, this is what it's something greater than me outside of myself. It was more like I was reading as, okay, who's the author? Who wrote this? Why was it written like this? And why in this? So my own speculations, put it together, it makes sense. The truth is in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, they told you to first program and then you would never make sense out of the truth.
Okay. Okay. And like we always hear, the truth is in you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a book can't teach you anything new.
It can't. So that truth that I walked in when I go into the book is just some confirmation from coming from within me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if the content wasn't already within me, it wouldn't even give me any satisfaction of anything. You know, I wouldn't even feel like, ooh, I found something.
Mm-hmm.
I could only say that by matching what's already within.
Okay, so it's almost like that level of satisfaction.
It's just validations, you know, we're looking for as a human being, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But you should just trust your information when it comes through you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But we want that validation, that little grip. So if you find it in the Quran or in the Bible or whatever you find it, it's like you're matching with your internal,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's like, click, okay, now I am onto something. It's just the doubt. You know, the hardest thing is to believe yourself. That's the hardest thing.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's all we're doing. We're trying to like, okay, I don't trust myself. Let me check.
Let me real quick. Let me confirm. You know,
Find it, yeah.
let me.
That's exactly.
So you do investigation. You get your confirmation from that information, but
Mm-hmm.
it's that sensation of elation because that realization comes from you already knew it. You know it already. It's like, oh, I get it because somewhere deep down it was already there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like your rhymes are right there all the time, you know. You don't have to for them. You don't have to sit and write all the time. They just flow through you. Let's say this. Have you noticed that? Oh, I started to believe a while ago that whatever I say, whatever comes out of me, whatever, you know, it's not me. It's like it's information coming through me. It's just I'm just a streamer, you know. So sometimes I can have a lot of things that I'm like, oh my God, where did that come from? So have you had a lot of moments like that? Where did that come from?
Right.
Have you had it?
Definitely. You know, it's ironic right now what we're doing together, you know, and blessings everyone who's joining here is a part of this, but they call it live streaming.
Mm.
That's what they call it, you know? It's live streaming.
Yeah, that's what we do every day.
And so you're channeling that light beaming as you're live streaming, and
Wow.
other people are picking it up, you know? So there's been so many times where I've actually gotten things and I feel like I've been able to benefit through these conversations.
Oh yes,
You
absolutely.
know?
Yeah.
So you're really helping. You're helping. You're just like
I benefit from all your conversations, you know. I benefit from so many, so many. That's what I'm saying. It would be so boring to be here by yourself and trying to, you know, discover yourself. What's the fun in it?
right.
It wouldn't even be fun because, like I said, I'm mirroring and everything. I'm matching everything. So it's nothing is separated from me. Even when I come to your page and I see and I receive information, I'm like, oh my God, that was inside of me. You know, it was in me, you know? So it's like, either you choose to stream it for us or I choose to stream it for us or somebody else chooses to stream it for us, it is the same. Once you resonate with an information, it's your frequency, you know. It is your frequency. So it's not like, you know, I own any of my information or anything that I'm saying. It's just, you know, it's a frequency.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, Louisa agrees. She said, or actually, over here we have Carly. Shout out to Carly Mayer. One of the most serene feelings to learn or realize what is innately existing within.
Mm, yeah.
And
Because the
when
whole
you
world is
realize,
with.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, you go ahead. Talk too
Well,
much.
well, Carly was saying, like, when you learn or realize what is innately existing within, when this is how you begin, how does that give you a feeling of serenity? Because I like that word, serene, you know?
Mm.
Where do you feel like you get that feeling?
Where it's within you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Some people think when you surrender that things on the outside changes and stuff like that, but the surrender is within,
Mm-hmm.
right? For me, at least that's how I feel, and if I understood the question correctly.
Well, when I think of serenity, I think of something serene, something calm, something peaceful.
That's from within.
Yes.
Within
Yes.
inner peace. It's
Yeah.
basic inner peace, yeah. Sometimes I say, like, if I'm seeking something, that would be the inner peace,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because you're in chaos with yourself most of the time. It's not even the world, it's just yourself. You just don't understand the self. That's how it starts, at least for me, I feel like. And just settling that self and finding that inner peace, everything else will fall into place as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what I love as well, Camilla, what Carly said
Mm-hmm.
is she said that it is innate, you know,
Okay.
innate existing. So something that is innate, it's like you're already great. So when you think like that, are there any mistakes?
There are no mistakes, actually. And I wouldn't say there are no mistakes, but even if they are, so what? Just be there. It's not that they're, we can't neglect stuff and believe that things are not there and stuff.
You're
They're
like,
there. You need to balance.
you're like, so what? So what if
Yeah,
they think? So what?
it
like
is. It is. Yes.
like when you said that you don't color outside the lines. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you color outside the line, you have a little mark outside the line. Is that a mistake? You know?
It is what it is. It is what whole life is what it is. It is what it is. To be honest. And every little thing that you experience is something you want to experience. Because you stop and you pay attention to it, and you give it a name like depression, this, or I feel this, or I feel that. It's okay. Why do you favor one over the other?
Mm.
That's the problem. People favor one over the other. We choose, we pick and choose. It's not about choosing and picking, it's balancing.
Ooh. Ooh.
But it is, right? It is balancing everything. Like, oh, I want to feel happy all the time. How can you feel happy all the time if you
Mm.
don't even know what sadness is?
Mm.
You can't.
Mm-hmm.
It
This
just
is
doesn't work like that. But our human mind just think like, oh, if I choose to stay in that comfort zone, I won't experience anything. So we want that comfort all the time. Yeah.
wow.
That's
Wow.
why food consumption, like, people over consuming food, because food is like a kind of like something that gives you comfort, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see, our skin just stretches and stretches. It doesn't say stop. You just get bigger and bigger, the more you put in, right? So it's just, we just numbing something, some confusion within ourselves. So that inner peace is very important.
Mm.
Once you find that inner peace, the world can't control you like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. The world cannot control. This is food for the soul. You giving it to us. You giving it.
Right? You're right, me. I'm catching the H vibe.
You already know, it's like this really is giving me all the Vipassana vibes because that is what we learned about. Goenka, the teacher that was talking and speaking the message to us, he used these Pali words, speaking of language, to
Mm-hmm.
describe different things like anicca, anicca. He talked about impermanent, changing, changing, and to be equanimous, to be equanimous, to be in balance with whatever is, as it is. Like you said,
Mm-hmm.
as it is. He said, satabada, as it is. That's what he would say. He was like, satabada, as it is. And
Yeah.
you sit with whatever happened
Mm-hmm.
is, So in the equanimity, you didn't have an attraction towards the good feelings, but you didn't have an aversion towards the bad.
Mm-hmm.
So in any state that you were in any state that you had, you remained equanimous.
Yeah.
So it's like nothing was good, nothing was bad. You weren't, feeling down, you weren't feeling glad, you weren't,
No, embrace whatever also, you
yeah.
know, embrace it. Like, you just had a shitty moment. It is what it is, and the next moment is going to be better.
Mm-hmm.
But once we think about it and we think like, oh, this is a problem. Why am I in this? Why is this happening to me? Blah, 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 blah. That's when the problem is. Everything is supposed the way it's supposed to be. We are the only one that trying to change it into our own, way. Like we're trying to customize the moment into our own, because this is how we want. And then we're not accepting the other. But if we accept it all, we can actually create the moment just like we want. But you have to accept whatever that comes with the moment and balance that, right? But I just want my moment to be so peaceful, you know? Anything can happen, you know?
Right.
You can be in a peaceful moment. I could be, sometimes I'm on live and, I'm doing my meditation. I'm in a peace. My whole camera just, turns off, you know? But it doesn't matter. I need to continue with my peaceful moment and then get back to it. It is what it is, So life is beautiful once you understand it that way. It's just balance.
Yeah.
Balance.
That's beautiful.
We create our own sufferings.
Wow. That was the message. That actually was the total summation of the message at that retreat was creating all of this, like for ourselves. Yeah.
I go to a Vipassana then. I haven't been to a Vipassana, but yeah, I believe in all of that. I really do.
I know you could
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, 10 days.
I'm scared of if I went to places like that, I would live in it, be there. I would never leave, So that's the only reason why I don't want to go there.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I wanted to leave. I wanted to leave, but it was like there was no leaving. There was no
Oh,
escape.
I would want to live there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
life is not as complicated as we make it up here.
Mm.
It's just complicated in your head, because just imagine you can be in the same moment with somebody and that moment can be blissful for someone and not for you. Like, it's nothing wrong with the moment, it's what's within you.
Mm-hmm.
And everything, because if everybody was feeling the same thing about the same thing all the time, that's something else. But we pick and choose what we want.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. That's the spice of life. They say is variety.
Of course. And then I've been into this pattern interruption things. Life can be very redundant, so the same thing too. So just change it around. If you think like you're doing the same thing over and over every day, same thing, just change it around, and ain't nothing to be scared of. Like, if you really want to do something that willingness to try out new things and stuff like that. See the world as a big playground that's yours. You really want to live like that. Don't think about moments you want to create to stay in a comfort place. Just see it as like place of fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Place of fun.
And even on the opposite spectrum, because at that retreat there was no switching it up. Like, we were doing the same thing every single day. Here we meditate, we meditate, we meditate, we sit down, we go eat, we meditate, we sit down, we go do this, we meditate. And
Yeah.
at a certain point, you had to find magic in the mundane, or else you would go insane. You know, you had to just appreciate it, you know, because you couldn't get rid of redundancy.
Yeah. If I was, you know, the program manager of Vipassana, I would have changed it around. Because my thing is like flowing with creation.
Okay.
You know, I understand that some people actually really need that, doing every day the same thing until they get stuck, you know, to doing that thing. Some people actually like to do the same thing over and over again. But life is not about that. Does it look like any of these creation are doing the same things? Even that tree, you know, standing on the same spot, it's not doing the same thing. You know, it's everything is different and everything is supposed to happen in its own different order, you know. But to do the same thing over and over again, nothing will be created. Even the habit itself would be boring. You see, you wanted to find magic in whatever because it just became like plain. There's no power in it. But again, there is power in practicing something, you know, for a very long time. But I'm not saying that even when you're doing that, you have to change it around.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't read the same book every day. I know a lot of people read the Bibles and stuff the same, you know, all their life. But it's no fun in reading the same book every day.
Have you ever come back to a book? You know, like books are kind of like friends sometimes, like an old friend. You meet an old friend again. You're like, hey, how you doing? How's it been since we
Oh
last,
yeah.
you know? And when you come back to a book, does it look different? Do you find different things, not because the book has changed, but because you have changed?
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I go back to them. Like, let's see what changed. You know, do I have a different understanding? It's like watching a new movie again. Because when you read the book the first time, you know, you have a different mindset maybe. And then when you read the second time with a different mindset, it will become a different, you know.
Right. So even though the book remains the same, would you say there's still more for you to gain in that way?
But if you were reading the book every day, and no, we're talking about patterns right now, okay? If you're reading the same book every day, you wouldn't gain that knowledge that you're talking about. But if you read it one time, left it alone, came back again,
Okay.
that's because of now you have experienced something outside of the book that would help you gain maybe something in the book, you know. But if it was the same information, even if the information is in that book, just you reading every day, you would never figure it out maybe. So you need to change it, change perspectives, you know, come back to it and then see the view if it changed.
Okay. So sometimes to see a better view, you have to take a step back. So you can
Yeah.
see another angle, another perspective.
Absolutely. Yes. That's beautifully put. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's correct.
Talk, Kamilla, talk.
That you remember.
Yes.
Right with awareness. Yes. That's exactly. Our hour is over.
Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for these realizations. Thank you for your constant dedication, you know?
Likewise. Likewise.
Yeah. Yeah. We love it. We love it.
No, I love talking to you. I love, you know, having, you know, conversations, and it's always great. I love it. Thank you so much.
All right.
So next Tuesday, you're always somewhere. You're traveling, or you are on the Vipassana. Those two last ones actually. Two last Tuesdays. So next Tuesday.
We'll see you then.
All right. Thank you everyone for being here. I love you guys. And yeah, next week I'll talk to you in private. All right.
Take care.
All right. Bye.